So today I'm going to do a video about 10 movies in my collection. This is not a top 10 necessarily. It's just literally a list of 10 movies in my collection, which I do enjoy, but they are real trash. They are such a trashy films. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into the 10 movies from my collection that I really enjoy that are complete trash. So yeah, I do like, you know, more sophisticated horror, more proper horror if you like, but I also do have a soft spot for just like absolute garbage. And most of these 10 films, you may disagree, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but you'll soon see when I start showing these films. Most of these films are basically low budget, low IMDb scores, poor acting. Um, they're just there for, the gore, the nudity, complete and utter trash. But I do have a soft spot for them. So without further ado, let's go. So the first movie, this is actually a 2 movie set, so I'm going to do these 2 movies. Yeah, I'll have to carefully cover some of this box set up here. So the first movie is going to be a movie called Deadly Weekend. Yep, so this one might be quite an obscure one to the people who don't sort of delve too deep into the horror. But Deadly Weekend, I will get you a little bit of a synopsis on this one. So it was 2 young couples take one last trip to the country before moving to different cities. Unfortunately, when secrets come out and jealousy takes a toll on the weekend, jealousy takes a toll, the weekend takes an unexpected and deadly turn for the worst. Yeah, to be honest, I can't remember a great deal about this movie. I think the second one in this set, which actually is called Muck, I want to say, most of the time, is slightly more memorable than the first one here. They've just retitled this one to try and sell it, I think, with this movie. Not sure why they did it. But I'm pretty sure this one came out in 2014 and this one came out in 2015. But we'll move on to the second one in a minute. So yeah, the first one, yeah, like I say, not really a lot of memorable scenes in it. Just an easy hour-and-a-half tops watch. Absolute garbage. I've got a soft spot for it, but probably not as much as I do for the second one, which is what we're going to go on to now. So yeah, the second one in this set is called Another Deadly Weekend, but it's otherwise known as Muck. So if you're searching for it online, that's what it might come under. So it came out in 2015. This one, 18 certificate, hour and 39 minutes long. Now this one really takes the mix. So this one literally covers, I think it has, the town is called something like, I don't know, gosh, it's like Where's Craven Town or something like that. It's like it proper just takes the mick out of proper anything that's classic in horror or has been well known in horror for years. It just uses it and abuses it basically in this film. It's all tongue-in-cheek. It's all kind of like, a little wink and a nod to the camera about what they're doing. Absolute garbage, but again, I can't help but love this film. So the plot for this one: after narrowly escaping an ancient burial ground, a group of friends find themselves trapped between two evils, forcing them to fight, die, or go back to the way they came. This has got an IMDb score currently of 2.7, so that shows you what most people think of this. But yeah, it's so bad, it kind of goes into the good territory. But it's very close on the fence for this one, even for me. So yeah, with my low standards, I still kind of like have this one. Check out the trailer for this one and you'll soon see. Yeah, anyway, that is Muck. So that one is the second one on my list of 10 movies. So the next one, I've talked about this a few times over the years on this channel, but just the name sets me off and I can't help but absolutely love it. So this one is Zombievers. Now, if that doesn't, make you smile, then you're watching the wrong video. But yeah, Zombievers. Zombie Beavers, what could you ask for? Absolute trash. Let's see, let's get you some information on this one. So yeah, Zombievers came out in 2014, 15 certificate, an hour and 17 minutes long, so it's not going to again take up all evening. Now the title kind of tells you what you're getting with this one, but it is a fun weekend turns into madness and horror for a bunch of groupies looking for fun in a beaver-infested swamp. 4.8 on the IMDb score currently, a lot better than the last one I mentioned. But yeah, again, it's just silly excuse to get girls basically on a lake with zombie beavers. you know, what more could you ask for? So the next one in my list of 10 movies here that are absolute trash horror is a movie called The Victim. So probably not one that's that well known, I would have thought. However, I do think I saw my pal Andy at Forgotten World of Movies. I'll leave a link down below. Picked this up fairly recently. I apologise, Andy, if you picked this up and it's, you know, you didn't realise it was absolute trash, but it's my kind of trash. Maybe it's yours as well. So this one was made in 2011, 15 certificate, hour and 23 minutes long. So again, it's not going to test anyone's patience in terms of time, maybe in quality. So this has got one line in terms of, you know, plot on the IMDb page. A man lives alone in a remote cabin and is surprised by his visitors. It's 4.3 score on IMDb. Doesn't really tell you a lot about this one. Yeah, again, absolute trash. Let me just see if there's anything interesting I can tell you. So basically, the IMDb plot line of the single line isn't that interesting, so I'll have to sort of cherry pick some bits out of the people's reviews on here. So Annie's in jeopardy after she's witnessed a crime, shall we say, of a murder of her close friend. Fleeing from two attackers, she stumbles across Kyle, so I think this guy, a recluse living in the middle of the woods. Kyle finds the stillness of the woods comforting, and then the ruggedly handsome loner stays far from civilization. That is until a single knock on his door throws away his solitary life into chaos. Two worlds collide in this psychological thriller that will make you question your trust in mankind. That's a better kind of a synopsis, I guess, of this movie. But yeah, I had some fun with this one. It's not the best in terms of horror, but it is kind of like just one of those trashy movies you want to throw on a dark evening with a beer and have a bit of fun with. So yeah, that is the next one on my list. So the next one on my list of 10, so this is number 5 on my list, is Chopping Mall. So yeah, this one, 1986, 18 certificate, hour and 17 minutes long. And this one's probably a bit more well known in the horror community. But it is a group of young shopping mall employees stay behind for a late night party in one of the stores when the mall goes on lockdown before they can get out. The robot security system malfunctions and goes on a killing spree. So yeah, robot security basically goes on a killing spree with these teenagers inside this mall from the 80s. What more could you ask for? Yeah, had again late to the party on this one for me personally, so maybe some of you guys might not have seen it, but I really had a good time with this one. Again, worth looking up on the IMDb. Let me get you the score currently for this one. So the IMDb score for this one at the moment is 5.6. So yeah, probably the best one so far, technically, according to IMDb on the list of 10 to what we've had so far. But yeah, we'll carry on with the next one. That's number 5. So number 6 on my list is a movie called 247 Degrees Fahrenheit. So this one is made in 2011, it's 15 certificate, hour and 28 minutes long. And let me get you the synopsis. So this is 4 friends travel to a lakeside cabin for a carefree weekend. The fun turns into a nightmare when 3 of them end up locked in a hot sauna. Every minute counts and every degree matters as they fight for their lives in the heat up to 247 degrees Fahrenheit. So yeah, it's just an excuse to get like young people basically in saunas and making them sweat. Absolute trash. I had a good time with it. Number 6 on the list. So number 7 on the list for me is 47 Meters Down Uncaged. So this is technically a sequel in some regards to the first movie, obviously 47 Meters Down, but it doesn't really continue over. It could just be a standalone movie if you haven't seen either of these. So this one I feel has got a bigger budget, a bit more glossy, a bit more trashy all over, to be fair. But yeah, made in 2019, 15 certificate, hour and 30 minutes long. 2 sisters diving in a rural underwater city quickly learn that they've entered the territory of the deadliest shark species in the claustrophobic, easy for me to say, labyrinth of submerged caves. So yeah, basically, again, teenagers going down into the sort of like really narrow, claustrophobic looking caves and things, diving in there and then coming across the species of shark, which as you can probably tell from the thing there, mild spoilers, have been adapted to not really have any light, so they just hunt in the dark. But yeah, again, trash on this one. IMDb score for this one at the moment is 5, bang on, so arguably slightly worse than Chopping Mall, but I had a really good time with this one. I blow this one up big on the old projector screen and have a great time. That's number 7. So number 8 on my list is a movie called Fantasy Island, and I'm pretty sure this was based on an old TV show, which I'm not too familiar with personally. But yeah, made in 2020, 15 certificate, hour and 49 minutes long, so a bit more testing this one in terms of time. Let me get you some blurb on this one. So, when the owner and operator of a luxurious island invites a collection of guests to live out their most elaborate fantasies in relative seclusion, chaos quickly descends. So yeah, this reminded me when I watched this. Bear in mind, 2020 it was made. When I watched this for the first time, I just couldn't help but think it felt like all of those movies that I absolutely love from the early 2000s that were horror movies. It just had the same sort of feel and vibe about it, and it was so refreshing and rare to see that kind of like trash, but of like that time period, just seemed to be coming back in this form 20 years later, basically. But yeah, I know pretty much no one I've ever spoke to has said they really enjoyed this movie. I don't know whether I'd say I really enjoy it, but I do have a good time with it, that is for sure. So yeah, that is the unseen cut included as well on this one. So I had a good time with it. It has everything. It ticks all the boxes you'd expect one of these movies to do. Bad acting, big glossy special effects for the 2020. And yeah, just a poor movie, but absolute trash that I love. So numbers 9 and 10 on this list kind of come as a package together. You'll see why in a second. So it is Piranha 3D, and you can't have Piranha 3D without Piranha 3 Double D. So, I mean, the title in this one is just obviously tells you it's complete trash. But let's go with the first one, Piranha 3D. Now, if you haven't seen this one, obviously it's sort of a reboot, rehash of the Piranha from way back in the 80s, maybe late 70s at a push. But not really related too much in terms of what it's doing. So it came out in 2010, 18 certificate, hour and 28 minutes long. Obviously stars, I think Kelly Brook is her name, is the main lead in this one. Let me get you the blurb. So after a sudden underwater tremor sets free scores of prehistoric man-eating fish, an unlikely group of strangers must band together to stop themselves from becoming fish food for the area's new razor-tooth residents. I mean, that says it all. So yeah, if you like trash, over-the-top gore, tongue-in-cheek like nods and jokes about things in here, scantily dressed everyone essentially, then yeah, this is the kind of movie for you. I absolutely love this film. I watch this over and over and over again. Like, I know everyone says we watch this all the time, but this is definitely one that I've seen so many times from a teenager growing up until sort of like quite recently. I can't say as much for the second one. I mean, this one basically does everything the first one does, but not as good. And I mean, that didn't start well, so you can imagine what this is going to be like. I'll get you some information on this one. Oh, the IMDb score on Piranha 3D currently is... I need a little drum roll for these things. Nowhere to be found, apparently. Let me go back. 5.5. So there you go. Arguably the most liked, maybe, if you've been following these IMDb's. So yeah, the last one on the list of 10 movies that are complete trash, but I somehow love. It's 2012, 18 certificate, hour and 23 minutes long. Like I say, it does everything the first one does, but arguably not as well. Now, the IMDb score for this one drops to 3.8 compared to the 5.5 that it had on the first one. The synopsis on this one is, after the events at the Lake Victoria, in the first one, the prehistoric school of bloody thirsty piranhas make their way into a newly opened water park. So there we go. Again, I have a great time with this one. Over the top gore, splatter everywhere. Again, scantily dressed people everywhere just because of the nature of where it's set in the water. It's just one of those trashy films that I can't help but love. So yeah, that is it. That is the 10th movie in my collection of trashy horrors. If you guys like trashy horrors and there's some there that I haven't mentioned, feel free to let me know down below and I'll be sure to try and check those out. And as always, thanks for watching. Thanks guys. Bye-bye.